This is the best moments of the BBQ Central Show in 10 minutes or less. Ever wish you could re-listen to your favorite interview or segment? Do you enjoy hearing older shows for the first time in years? Then the best moments of the BBQ Central Show in 10 minutes or less is just what you need. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show.
Hello, John Solberg here. I'm your host for the best moments of the BBQ Central Show in 10 minutes or less. And I am always happy to tell you this show is brought to you by Green Mountain Grills. And for more than 17 years, Green Mountain Grills has brought the smoke to the competition scenes and backyards all over the world. Their Venturi-style firebox delivers the cleanest 150-degree smoke in the pellet game. Their newly redesigned 2025 Prime 2.0 grills blend the proven technology of the past with the technology of the future. Don't forget, Green Mountain Grills is the original innovator of all things Wi-Fi, and they continue to give the user granular options to control your grills in any environment from anywhere. Green Mountain Grills leads the pack in accessory creation: pizza ovens, side burners, rotisseries, lots of rack systems. Check all this out and more over at greenmountaingrills.com. That's greenmountaingrills.com. We're going to jump into a show where Greg talks to Ann Whippen.
Steroids.
All right, so we're going to change gears now to the main reason why I asked you here tonight, which was the throwdown that took place this past Sunday. Well, it probably took place for you probably a couple months before, but everybody gets to see it on the air on Food Network last Sunday for Mother's Day. How did you get picked to be on Throwdown? I mean, how does that whole process work?
I just got a call out of the blue, and it was from the New York production company, and basically it was Food Network, and they have people that actually do the research. And what they do, they ask me a whole bunch of questions, and then they seem to be very interested in what I had to say. So after about a half-hour conversation, they took my number, and they said, well, we might get back to you, we might not. And they called me that night at home, and they said, what we'd like you to do is send in a DVD, overnight it, and we want you to do a segment on pulled pork, basically a pulled pork for dummies, kind of video that was between 8 and 10 minutes long. And I said, sure, no problem. So I went ahead and did that, overnight it to them, and they said, well, we're just basically going to put this into our database because when the producers decide they want to do a certain show, whether it's, the best barbecue in Virginia, they can go into the database, look at what's on file without having to take the time to do the research and basically pick and choose what they like, and then it shortens their time, for the production. So when I sent that video in, I really, I followed up with a phone call to make sure that they got it, and they did, and they said they were very pleased, but they really just didn't know where it was going to go from there. And it wasn't, I don't know, probably 2 weeks later I heard, and they said, what are you doing, this day and this day? We're sending, 2 film crews down from New York. We're filming a show called The Grilling Gals. And I said, great, so basically was on the phone with them night and day, talking about locations and content and everything else. But to me, the whole show had nothing to do with Bobby Flay or the Throwdown. It had to do with the show called The Grilling Gals. So I had no idea what it was going to be until that day.
Yeah, I was going to say, you had actually been on the Food Network, was it like maybe a year or two ago when they had kind of followed you at the American Royal Cook-Off when you and your sister were there?
And they had about 3 or 4 teams that they followed around, and Bobby Flay had actually narrated that show. But this was really, they told me it was going to be a focus on Grilling Gals. They had told me that they also found another girl in Texas that they were going to, it was kind of girls and barbecue kind of was the whole focus of the show. And I said, well, who's the girl in Texas? And they said, well, we aren't quite sure if we're going to use it yet. They were very vague on the whole thing. And they just said, we just know that we want you to do, the pulled pork segment. And I said, that's fine with me. I was excited. I was like, this is great, and, especially with the opening of the new restaurant, it was kind of all falling together.
So
they came down and, even they had me, saying things about the Grilling Gals and everything, as if it was going to happen. They were down here for 2, days, filming about 12 hours a day.
Right.
And somebody had said, it's ironic that Bobby Flay was here doing a show at our Scope. And it was a show just, him doing some cooking. And they said, he's in town. Maybe they're going to do a throwdown. I said, no. This is definitely Grilling Gals. I said, they've contacted people that, they want in the show. And I just knew for sure it wasn't. And then I started thinking more and more, after the first day of shooting, maybe it is, but they had set me up on Friday doing a catering event out in the back of my restaurant, and it was very low key. There were people running around, just trying to get things set up, but it wasn't like panic, like, oh, Bobby Flay's coming to town. And I had even said to my mom, I said, no, he's definitely not coming. I said, it's just, too low key. So that even made it more of a surprise when he showed up. I really had no idea.
So I was going to say, they go through this fairly elaborate ruse process about the Grillin' Gals, and you were cutting promos that they were showing on the finished product. And then
that's right.
Bobby Flay rolls up on you, pulling a smoker in his truck with his two armed assassins, ready to throw down.
Those two girls are so funny. They are bound and determined to win, as well as Bobby. It truly is. It's a blind competition, just like KCBS. So I really did not know. As a matter of fact, I thought that I had lost it, and not just because of, I thought my product wasn't as good. It was just one of the judges, when they tasted the product, they just didn't eat that much of it. I'm like, God, they don't like it. And so I was very worried. As a matter of fact, I started saying stuff, and I thought maybe they were going to put it on the TV, saying, they didn't eat very much, that's not fair, And so I was very pleased with the result. It really came over as a huge surprise.
So when you see him, roll up on you, you knew at that point it was going to be a throwdown.
I really was overcome, but I figured it probably had to be.
We could tell.
Why else would he be there? I guess.
Right, exactly. So you said, I think, if I remember correctly, you said "Hi, stranger" when you saw him. Had you guys had?
I hadn't seen him in quite a few years.
So you guys have had prior meetings?
No, I met him actually at the International Association of Culinary Professionals annual convention, which was held in Baltimore, Maryland. And I was up there cooking with Little Red Pig and another team, and we were cooking for the event whole hogs and chicken and everything. And Bobby Flay was up there with about 5 other celebrity chefs up there for the convention, competing in a pork tenderloin cook-off between them. But we were cooking barbecue for the event, so I had taken the tenderloin out of a hog and brought it to Bobby, and that was the first time that I actually met him face to face, but we all, got to taste each other's food and stuff, so it was really kind of fun. So that's why I said, hey, stranger, because I hadn't seen him in years.
Right.
But yet the event was so memorable, I remembered it, and I wondered if he remembered, and he did, and that was kind of neat.
Now, as to any production, especially for people that don't have a real knowledge of how TV or even radio works, there's the raw side of things, and then there's the finished side of things. So how long did you have to invest time-wise for us to see that 30-minute package on the finished side on the Food Network?
Want to hear the rest of this show? You could probably make it a drinking game based on the amount of verbal distractors coming out of this guest. It's just an observation, not a criticism at all. But you can go check it out over at the BBQCentralShow.com. Want to get a hold of me? Got an idea for a show? Send it over to me, John, John, at the BBQCentralShow.com. And until next time, I am your host, John Solberg. And that seems really oddly redundant. But as always, I look forward to talking to you again soon.